All right, guys, Larry Kudlow is here. He is fired up, and he thinks that all the smart people out there completely missed the populist realignment. What about it, Larry?
With the possible exception of Mark Penn, the Democratic pollster, and Tony Fabrizio, who's a Republican pollster, Trump's pollster. But look, what they missed, and I talked about this on our show, I wrote it up, they missed the populist coalition of working folks and middle-class Americans across the board, all shapes and sizes, black, Latino, white, males, women. Actually, Trump picked up with women. He actually did much better than he had before. It's fascinating. Young people, unions, they missed it. And Trump has been really harping on this for the last couple years. And I don't think it's a brand new thing. You know, I think you saw it in 2016. It's about the border, it's about inflation, it's about affordability, and so forth. And it's ebbed and flowed, but he hit the high tide in the last few weeks. He made it very, very clear, and people knew this. Yeah. So what happens is, it wasn't a toss-up. It wasn't hard to. It was a landslide. Okay, it's called a landslide. Many years ago, when I was a young man working for Ronald Reagan, this is a lot like 1980. Reagan, you know, they thought Carter was going to win. Reagan won in a landslide and had great coattails. You're seeing the coattails. You're going to get probably 54 senators. My dear friend David McCormick's going to win. I'm told Sam Brown Nevada's going to win. So coattails for the senators. We'll see about the House, but I'm hearing the House is looking very good. The populist people said no. Yes. They don't like the woke. They don't like the inflation. They don't like the border. They don't like the progressive agenda. The wonderful thing about the miracle of American democracy, the voters are smart, okay? And they just said yesterday, no, no more, enough is enough.
So in our voter analysis, 63% said that they don't feel the situation with the American economy is good for them. It's not working for them. They weren't listening to these issues as they were going into the race. Let me give you something else. In Pennsylvania, and they spoke loud and proud, 81% said they wanted to change. But Donald Trump has his work cut out for him. He's been handed quite a mess here. If there's anyone who will get us out, it is him. But having said that, where does he start?
Look, I think, I can't say too much, but I think they're going to run the table for, stay with me on this, a massive reconciliation bill. We know what reconciliation? Okay. They'll press the outer limits, and it will include the tax cuts. It will include regulatory reform. It will include permitting reform so we can open the fossil fuel spigots to their maximum. It will also include massive spending cuts. You know, this is the Elon Musk piece. Howard Lutnick of the Transition Committee in Wall Street, a very brilliant fellow, great friend. He's been working with Elon and some others, and they're going to come up with enormous budget cuts, particularly thinking about programs like take the misnamed Inflation Reduction Act, obligated, authorized, but not spent. Okay, and there's several of them. The CHIPS bill is another one of these things. They're going to go right after that and do whatever it takes. Rescission authority may be used. Impoundment authority may be used. Executive authority, just straight up executive authority.
Quickly, Larry, we're going vintage with you. That's old school Larry. Talk to us about the bond market. Yields are jumping. What are we, 10, 11, 12 basis points all the way across the curve. But we have a Fed meeting tomorrow, and the Fed is supposed to be cutting. What is happening?
Can I just say, before we get to bonds, the stock market is up 1,400 points.
This is wild.
And it started right at before the open.
The futures at 3 in the morning.
Trump victory. And, you know, my friend Scott Bessent, maybe you've had him on the show.
We have.
He's a close Trump economic advisor.
The 3-3-3 plan.
Scott has said, actually all year, that stocks are rallying because they think Trump would be elected. I just want to throw that in. But the 1,400 points right after Trump, it tells you something. We're going to have growth without inflation, okay? Growth, let me emphasize that. Growth without inflation. He's done it once. Reagan did. Tax cuts across the board are not only pro-growth, they're counter-inflationary because you're producing more goods, okay? JFK did it. Reagan did it. Trump has done it. It's a very important point. What do I think the Fed should do? The Fed chairman's nice fella, Jay Powell. I mean that. Seriously, a personal friend of mine. I believe with Trump, as Trump gets inaugurated, as we move to that, Jay Powell should think very hard about stepping down and letting Trump appoint his own Fed chairman. Regarding tomorrow, there's no reason for the Fed to cut the rates. Look, they did this crazy, ultra massive 50 basis point rate cut, and the bond market rebelled against it.
How about that?
Said, the
what we call them?
The bond vigilantes.
The bond vigilantes.
Went right after them. You're almost up to 4.5% now on the bond.
Know.
This is about the Fed cannot force feed lower interest rates by shoving more money into the economy and risking higher inflation right now.
Look,
that's the problem.
If you think this is vintage, classic Larry Kudlow right now, you should see him at 4 p.m. because it's going to be off the charts. Larry,
you
great
did a
to see
great
you.
job last night
You
for
bet. Hey,
everybody,
it was
and
a
I
lot of
love
fun.
this show. I adore this show.